inside you, the current always flows. Changes her direction when pushed against the stone. As all questions find their answer.
Hello and welcome. That song is entitled The River by local singer-songwriter Lyn Koonce. She's going to be telling us about that and so much more.
I'm working on a song, or just finished writing a song that just started coming to me as I was walking my dog. And I went back inside and wrote probably 3/4 of it down, and then over the next 2 days fleshed it out and have pretty much, decided that that's it. I'm really happy with it.
So stay tuned for a conversation with Lyn Koonce. Start off a little bit. We're in kind of some odd times here, as there's no, mostly for a singer-songwriter, I'm sure you get your revenue from selling CDs, doing gigs, right?
Right.
And this is a little different. You were just starting to ramp up right when this happened, right?
Yes.
Tell me about how that came about, and how this year has been for you.
Yeah, it's this year, 2021, is a little different than 2020. So I was finishing my most recent album at the end of 2019, ready to release it March or April of 2020. And of course, we have a record rip there in March of 2020. So I had the biggest gig I've ever had, really, opening up for the Indigo Girls on March, I think, 7th of 2020, and then everything shut down. And so I began to kind of think about, all the press and everything was kind of ready for the album. And so my producer and I talked about it, and we decided, let's go ahead and release it anyway. We'll release it virtually and see if we can get some traction with it. So it takes a few months to get that up and running. So with promotion and that kind of thing, it's been almost exactly a year. It was August 28th when the record dropped last year. And so I really had no live audiences to promote it with, but I did a lot of Facebook concerts and some promotion, of course, social media, that kind of thing. So leading up, I had done a Kickstarter in the summer to help fund the record and the producing and all of the things that you have to do to put a record together. So 2020 for me, in a way, was really busy. I'm also a music director at a Methodist church here in town, and so learning some video editing to submit videos for Sunday services that we were doing on the computer, virtually, was a new skill for me. So I learned a lot, and I was busy from that standpoint. And then released the album and was promoting that again virtually, and doing some performances, not only virtually but some outdoor performances as well. And then of course winter comes, and that makes that difficult. So this year has been a lot slower for me than last year, but it is and it's a little disheartening right now because of the ebb and flow of what's happening with the pandemic. It's hard to know how to go forward.
And it's because you kind of gain your traction, I'm sure, from some audience feedback and things like that when you play it, which I'm sure
Yes.
in its own right is a little nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, for one of the it may be a cliche, but I think that a lot of singer-songwriters feel that energy from even the small audiences, the house concerts that I love to do, where you can actually see the faces and see people reacting to what you're singing about. Maybe they can relate. It's really important. And then the other part of live concerts, again, those smaller concerts that I enjoy, is being able to interact with the audience after the show is over and talking to them about the music or what's going on with them and what they liked, what they didn't like. And that's completely gone. And so it feels really funny to finish a song and to follow it up with some, kind of unplanned random comment about, well, I know you're out there listening, thanks, here's the next song. It's something that all of us have had to get used to, for sure.
Right, I know you had one at Triad Stage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that was one of the first ones that I think Triad Stage did, and I did. It was in March of last year. They jumped on the bandwagon as far as trying to get singers in there. And so that was a fantastic show. It really was. There was a lot of support, a lot of local support for that. So.
Mm-hmm. And I understand the album you were referring to. This was your fourth album?
Yes.
Begin Again?
Yes. This album was different than the first three that I've done. I went to Nashville to get it produced and had it made with some just top-notch session musicians. And so I felt like it was a level above in my writing as well as the product in general. And so that's something that I've really wanted to push and move out there and have promoted it more on a national level as well. So it's getting some attention in the folk DJ radio outlets, not so much on pop radio necessarily.
Right, because that's sort of your feature, your draws. You have sort of a blues, folksy, but you throw kind of I hate to say the word pop because I'm thinking of like your top 40 type music when you say it, but that's not really you have more of a more of a homegrown kind of pop to it.
I think that's probably right. And then I do throw some blues in there because I really do I like singing some blues songs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what does it take to put an album together? I know there's a lot of work involved. It's not just throwing a bunch of songs in there and just, okay, we're going to print something on a CD and go.
Right. Well, for me, for my last album, the process was, began certainly with the songs, and you're just sitting in your house with your guitar or piano or whatever you're using, writing and rewriting, and then there's the rewriting and the rewriting. And luckily for me, my producer is also a fantastic songwriter, so she helped me with some editing, and her name is Amy Spees. And so worked on that most of 2019, and then went into the studio, went to Nashville in August of 19, and did half of the album. And of course what that entails is hiring musicians, having them learn the songs, recording the songs in the studio, going back later and doing vocals. So I was in the studio 2 different times, once in August and then once in December. And so that process happened twice. And then there's mastering it. Then there's the duplication. There's all this promotion that, you've got to let people know about it. And so that costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. And all of these were new things that I was learning because the previous albums that I recorded were really just locally done. I just feel like I have a bunch of songs, I need to put them on a record. And while I think they're really good songs and a good product overall, this was a sort of a step above.
And your title track, Begin Again.
Yes.
It has such a power and a presence to it. Tell us about Begin Again.
Begin Again is literally about new beginning. I've had a few new beginnings in the last several years. Relationships, ways of thinking, music, kind of a music pivot. I was working in radio for a long time, and in 2018 is when I decided to kind of have a new beginning and seek this singer-songwriter career more full-time. So it's really about lots of new beginnings.
And because I know you talked about it, but what was the sort of the spark that kind of got you into singing songwriting?
Wow. Well, I'm the fourth of 4 kids, and so I had older brothers and sisters that were listening to lots of music as I was growing up, and I would spend my teenage years in the basement reading lyrics and listening to albums, and it became really you know, sort of a solace for me in whatever teenage angst that we go through, listening to albums and everything from James Taylor and Carole King to Bob Seger and Billy Joel and later John Mayer and, lots of artists all along the way. But lyrics have always been something that really have attracted to me. So I wanted to be a songwriter. Felt like this music comes easier to me. But I feel like the lyrics are so important. So it's just been something that has spoken to me forever, really.
Yeah, and that's really cool. That rings true, especially with "We Are the Girls" and "The River."
Right.
The River really has a track to it when we're talking about lyrics.
Yeah, that was. I wrote The River so in 2018 I went to a bunch of songwriting retreats with some great faculty, and the very first retreat I went to, the director gave a prompt, and it was the story about a man who worked right next door. We were all at an art center, and she said, there's a gentleman next door whose name is Bobby, and he cuts hair for a living, and he's 100 years old, and he still comes to work every day. And so Bobby was a veteran, and he lived out near the Outer Banks. And so I kind of tailored a story together about Bobby, some of which is true and some of which is more fiction. But yeah, it's one of the songs that's probably most requested that I sing, and yeah.
The river can ease your troubled mind.
That's right. Yeah. It talks about that the answers really are all inside us, and it's about uncovering, really getting still and sitting with that strength that we have inside us, but also the support that we have around us.
I read it as, kind of a life goes on, the river, because the river is always moving.
The current always flows. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And it can teach us. I think if we keep putting one step in front of the other, it's a metaphor for a teacher in that way. Yeah.
You want to break this up a little bit and play that, or maybe one of your other songs?
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Let's be glad to play The River. This is The River. Bobby was a barber, some 50 years or more. Came back home to that river town after fighting in the war. All his Navy medals hung above his chair, hid the untold stories he never used to share. A young soldier came into his shop on a Friday afternoon, found himself unraveling his life since Camp Lejeune. All the ways he struggled for a peace since he'd come home, Bobby nodded in the mirror. He said, son, you're not alone. Said the river's inside you, the current always flows, just changes her direction when pushed against the stone. As all questions find their answers with a little faith in time. To heal your troubled mind. Bobby became a friend, like a father to the man. Countless conversations helped him understand that no matter what he'd seen, what he had been through, make it through the water when someone believes in you. The river is inside you, the current always flows, it changes her direction when pushed against the stone. As all questions find their answers with a little faith in time. The river can teach you how to heal your troubled mind. In that tiny town, people never changed. When they laid him in the ground, everybody came. Bobby's legacy lives on now.
while he listens to the stories of the soldiers. He said the river is inside you, the current always flows, just changes her direction when pushed against the stone. As all questions find their answers with a little faith in time. Ooh. The river can teach you how to heal your troubled mind. The river can teach you how to heal your troubled mind.
Thank you.
It's funny, we were talking about the whole idea of being distant and having, watching things through video or whatever in preparation for this. Of course, I was watching your stuff in video and or your Facebook Live or whatever, but I hear it differently here. I'm hearing things differently as I'm listening to it, or maybe just again, but there is a difference. And it was interesting. You mentioned, we talked earlier about the lyrics of the song, how important they are. And I like the idea where you brought up the storm. The storm changes the direction of the river.
Right.
Or how it's going to behave, I guess. How
Right.
the water's going to behave.
Yeah.
And so is the storms of life going to change
That's
the
so
direction?
true. The metaphor for everything in life, right? Yeah. That's really true. Thank you.
You talked about, now you said you have 3 brothers and sisters?
Yes.
And tell me about your family. Tell me about growing up. You grew up in Rhode Island,
I did spend, you've done your homework. I did spend about 10 years in Rhode Island. I grew up in the eastern part of North Carolina in Kinston until I was about 11. And then we moved to Rhode Island. And I finished high school there. Took a year off, lived in Central America, and then came back to North Carolina and went to UNCG. For a long time, I had lived more than half my life in Rhode Island, so I sort of felt like a northerner. But now that I've been back many years after college, I don't really feel like a New Englander anymore. But yeah, we grew up with a pretty typical family of growing up and involved in lots of extracurricular activities. All of us did music. None of them stuck with it except me. I'd started with violin and piano. And then taught myself guitar, and then went on to study music at UNCG.
And how did you? What was your time at UNCG like?
It was fantastic. About the time that I was 13 or 14, I knew that I wanted to teach music, and so really, probably because I didn't spend any time on anything else, that's really what my focus was. So in high school, I did chorus and was trying to become an assistant conductor, and that was something that really was intriguing to me. And so at UNCG, I took all the methods courses, all the education courses, all the music courses, and I was studied voice, and then graduated with a music ed degree. And so then later went on to finish, got my master's at UNCG as well in choral conducting. So. It's been about music all the time.
And that's pretty cool. Was your family particularly supportive of your career track?
Absolutely. Yeah. Never any doubt in that. I think everybody knew I couldn't do anything else probably. So that was where my gifts lie.
And I understand you went to Costa Rica?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I spent a year as an exchange student between high school and college, and lived with a host family in Costa Rica, which was just a fantastic experience. So learned how to speak Spanish, and I had taken 5 years of Spanish between junior high and high school, and thought that I knew Spanish until I went down there and realized, oh yeah, I've got a lot more to learn. But I was down there for a year, and it was just a great developmental time for me.
And I'm sure it's interesting learning about somebody, they're a different culture, a different group of people, things like that,
Yes,
how somebody else lives.
Different cultures. It's what's made me appreciate different cultures probably to this day even more so. And the other thing is, when you're outside of the United States, boy, you get a different view of the United States itself. So you're learning a little bit about other cultures, and you're learning about your own as well. Yeah.
What did you think the general? Well, how long ago were you there?
It was the late 80s, early 90s, so it was a long time ago. It was the end of the Iran-Contra affair, and I was probably too young to really have a grasp on what was going on, but it's ever prevalent, I think, in today's world. The ego that our country has, in my opinion.
Well, we're the greatest country in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you want to take us through another song,
Yeah, I'd love to.
whatever your heart desires.
Okay. I'll do a blues tune since we talked about blues. This is was also a prompt from another writing retreat. It was called Eviction. So this song is called Eviction. I gotta get you out of my heart. I gotta get you out of my mind. You never pay my love no rent. All you do is waste my time. It's true, I loved you with conviction, but here is your eviction. Sometimes you show up at the end of the month and you wanna pay in full. You wine me, you dine me, then you try to feed me your bowl. I gotta get you out of my heart. I gotta get you out of my mind. You never pay my love no rent. All you do is waste my time. It's true, I love you like an addiction, but here is your eviction. Well, I call some of my friends to justify my action. They assure me that you've never been one to show me satisfaction. You wanna play Chinese fire drill, hoping I won't track you down. Your period of grace has ended. It's time to get you out of this town. To get you out of my heart. I gotta get you out of my mind. You never pay my love no rent. All you do is waste my time. It's true, I love you like an affliction, but here is your eviction. Hey baby, this is my decision. Here is your eviction. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the story behind that song was you were supposed to write it without using the word eviction.
I was, yes. You really have done your own work. Yeah, that was the prompt. Was she gave us a title of a song, but we couldn't use the title in the song. And when I played it for my producer, she said, "You kind of have to have the title in the song. If you want to put it on a record, you got to have the title in the song." So I reworked it and had the little tags at the end. Hey baby, this is my decision. Here is your eviction. So I went back and added the "Here is your eviction" to kind of go along with the story, and then to have the title in the song. Yeah.
And how long does it take you to put something like that together? The reason I'm saying that is I know I was reading Bruce Springsteen's book, and he said he sat down with a thesaurus for like a couple hours before he was supposed to sign with the record company, and I believe that was Blinded by the Light.
Wow. Some songs are like a download. You know, I'm working on a song, or just finished writing a song that just started coming to me as I was walking my dog, and I went back inside and wrote probably 3/4 of it down, and then over the next 2 days, fleshed it out and have pretty much, decided that that's it. I'm really happy with it. Other songs can take years, where you've got the idea, you've got the storyline, and something doesn't. You're unable to finish it, and so I think it's best to leave it. And then maybe something happens in your life where it's not really true anymore, so you don't know whether or not to go back and try to finish it based on other truths, I mean.
And you weren't feeling what you're feeling in that moment.
Right, right. And so sometimes going back a week or two later and picking it back up is the right thing to do, and other times it doesn't always feel great. But maybe a year later it does. So we never throw anything away.
That's right. I'm sure, like Frank Sinatra or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's songs of his that were written down that they were looking through, and he would have probably never ever wanted them to ever find them. And here we are, years later, we're like, this is still
Genius.
gold, and
Right.
he's probably rolling in his grave thinking, no, I don't really want him. That was on his level, that
For
was,
sure. And there's so many songs are written from the singer's perspective, and so many are not. We gather pieces of stories and put them together as well. But you always feel somewhat vulnerable when someone else is reading your lyrics, whether they're from years ago or last week.
We are our own worst critics.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, for sure.
And tell me about a writing. You said you wrote this one over a writing retreat, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about a writing retreat and what that entails.
So my favorite one, well, there are two. There's one here locally in Swannanoa called the Swannanoa Gathering, which runs all summer, and for every week they have a different theme. So you might have Fiddle Week, you have Guitar Week, you have Songwriting Week, that kind of thing. There are different themes. And so 2 years ago I went to Swannanoa and study guitar, and literally it's like school. You sign up for a course or 2 or 3, and you go to class 5 days a week, and maybe they're an hour and a half class, and then you go to the next one, and then you leave some time to go in your room and maybe bang out a song or bang out, so that you can take it to the next class, and then there's free time to recreate and to visit with other people, and there are song circles that are happening all around campus. So it happens at Warren Wilson College, so it's on the setting of a campus. And then the same thing in Colorado. I went to Song School, which is on the campus of the Planet Bluegrass, where there are lots of festivals, and all of the classes happen outdoors in August under tents. Literally your white stand-up 20 by 20 tents, and so you sign up for something like building a better chorus, or maybe you sign up for performance art, how to be a better performer once you already have all your music, and or how to publish a song, how to be your own publisher, how to make sure you're signed up with a PRO, the Performing Rights Organization, that kind of thing. There are all sorts of aspects of the music business that they offer at this particular song school, and so you can go for 5 or 6 years and never take the same course. It's fantastic. And you've got people, you've got open mics at night, you've got performances, you've got the faculty performing. It's a wonderful, and plus you're surrounded by mountains and the St. Vrain River that goes through the area where you're either camping or you're staying. So it's a beautiful experience. It really is.
Endless inspiration.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
And we talked earlier about doing Harmony.
Yes, Harmony Music School.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about Harmony Music School and what that entailed for you.
Yeah, Harmony Music School is a nonprofit that I started about 8 years ago. I had learned of a similar school in Knoxville, Tennessee, called the Joy Music School, and learned that the school was formed and gave the opportunity for children to take music lessons for free. And I noticed we didn't have anything like that in at least Guilford County, and I wanted to start it. In fact, I couldn't sleep after I had learned about this other school. I started thinking about what could we do And so my church really wanted to house the school, even though we're not affiliated. Harmony Music School is based out of the church where I am at Henshaw United Methodist Church, and we have before COVID, we had about 40 teachers and about 40 students and about 13 teachers teaching guitar, violin, flute when we have a flute teacher, and piano. And so I started that organization really with 4 things. I knew I needed students, I knew I needed teachers, I knew I needed instruments in a place. And all those things kind of came together pretty easily. And the teachers volunteer their time, they're not paid. So Harmony is based on our tagline is teaching music, building community. And it's become as important for me that the kids are growing in relationships with their teachers, with other parents, that it's a community organization, and that's become just really as important to me as teaching music.
And what's the importance of getting children involved in music early?
Yeah, I think it is hugely important, not just from an artistic level, music has its own, or music and arts in general have its own intrinsic value, I think, and so it's not something that I like to say we offer this just because it helps other subjects too. My desire was to offer kids an opportunity to try different instruments as they age, and it's a K-12 program. But the biggest hurdle was that music lessons are expensive. So this is an opportunity for kids to take lessons. We provide free lessons and free instruments. And so we're hoping to expose them to the world of music as well as the world of culture, and being able to help educate what it is to be an audience member, for example, as they grow up. And
how is that school funded?
We are funded solely with private donations, so we're not a United Way. We don't have, although we work on grants and that kind of thing here and there, and we have received some grants, but it is a privately donated, private donations solely.
You want to break this up with another song?
Sure. I'll play a song that I wrote actually in thinking about the girls, specifically the girls that are involved in Harmony Music School. A couple of years ago, there's political drama, right, all around. And we're seeing the rise of women coming into political office, as well as businesses and that kind of thing. And so I wanted them to be able to kind of zoom out and see what was happening in the world around them. And I hoped that this would kind of be a song of empowerment for the girls. And it's one that I perform everywhere now, not just for them, but it's called We Are the Girls. Open the window, keep it down. Just change direction, turn this thing around. Pull off the highway, take a different road. Raise the standard, help carry the load. We are the ones who can change the world. We are the women, we are the girls. There's a conversation, there are questions we must ask. Thank you.
The video for that was very interesting.
Yes.
Tell me about how that was who put that together and how did that come about?
Well, she's a local videographer. Her name is Jackie Otano. Fantastic. And I came to her asking if she could help me come up with some footage that didn't involve me. You know, so many times we make videos when we're in it, right? We're the star of the songs we sing. And I wanted something that showed the passage of time from, when women first got to vote, all the way, sort of the story of how women have gained some prominence throughout history, and through LGBTQ movement, through business, and through political forms. So I think if you watch the video, you can see, different iterations of the times that women have gained in their power, so to speak.
Yeah, she obviously did a lot of work putting that thing together.
Yeah.
I must have taken some time to find all that footage.
So yeah, there's a way to certain websites that we can go to find footage that is free to use, and so that's what I did. I kind of culled all the images, and then I told her I kind of wanted the order that I wanted them, and I gave them all to her, and she made it work. So yeah, it was a really, really great experience.
And obviously they can find that on YouTube or on your website.
Absolutely, yes. Both of those, yep, YouTube or LynKoonceMusic.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well, so yeah.
And so we talked about doing the lyrics of a song and doing the instrumentals, if you will, on a song. How do you kind of marry those two together? Does one come first, or I know you focused on the lyrics. You said that earlier.
Well, what happens is I need to focus on the lyrics. That's what I feel like my job is, really, because for me the music comes pretty easily. That little thing, I was playing around on the ukulele, and that little riff came from me playing on the ukulele, and then I transfer it to the guitar, and then the chord structure is not complex at all, and the music sort of wrote itself for that. But usually for me, I'm writing lyrics with the guitar in my hand. I have a rhythmic feel for something. Like if I come up with a line, it has a rhythmic feel already, and so when I say it out loud, I can already kind of tell where the melody needs to go. That's not everybody, there's a song on my album called The Park where I wrote all the lyrics first and then put the music to it, because I wanted it to be more of a kind of a poem. But generally speaking, I write either at the piano or with the guitar in hand.
And The Park, that reminds me of something else you mentioned, which was getting into nature.
Yes.
Which is your big thing as well.
Yes. Paddleboarding, hiking, biking. I love to be outside. Yeah, for sure. And that's where I get a lot of inspiration, right? And then listening to music sometimes in those, whether you're paddleboarding alone, it's really, really helpful. And so you can use that as recreation, as a way to escape from the rest of your life, and then also as a way of inspiration, getting inspiration.
How long have you been paddleboarding? I paddleboarded for like the first time ever.
Oh, isn't it great?
I did. We did it on the Outer Banks, and out and we were out in the middle of nowhere on the sound side.
Yes.
That's
a great place to start.
Yeah, and it was odd. I felt like I was gonna fall. I never fell in, but it's kind of tough to learn. How did you get involved with paddleboarding?
I guess the same way people kind of get involved in kayaking. You just go. I love water, right? So. But I love paddleboarding because I feel like you're about as close to the water as you can be, and you could move along. It's just something about the stillness and being one with the water that I just love. And it's quiet, and it's easy for me to put my paddleboard on my car and head out. So kayaks are a little more bulky, and they're harder for me to deal with. So yeah, it's just about my most favorite thing to do. is to paddleboard. So I'm usually, and we have 3 great lakes here in Greensboro, and I paddleboard regularly. I was just at an island off the coast of South Carolina, trying to paddleboard in the ocean, and luckily it was off Seabrook Island, so it's not too rough. But that's a different animal altogether. So I would recommend you keep using the Sound or lakes until you get your sea legs, but it won't take long. It's a matter of balance, really.
And we're talking about stand-up paddleboarding,
Yeah,
correct? Yes.
right.
Okay. I did see 1 or 2 people out there in the ocean doing it, which I'm sure that's a different animal altogether.
Yeah, the balance becomes a lot harder in the ocean for sure. Yeah.
But so you talked about going out to the 3 lakes that we have. Is there anywhere else that you kind of go to escape?
Into headphones, listening to anything from Dvorak to the latest in folk acoustic music. Spotify can be a great thing and a curse all at the same time, as far as trying to make a living, getting streams. But our access to music these days is so easy, but the time to listen to it is harder. And when you're a teenager, for me, that's all I did. It was, after school, I did listen to so much music. That gets harder as you get older. But so I would say I use music as my escape and as my way of life.
And we talked about your early influences. What are you listening to now?
Oh gosh.
Is anybody in particular?
There's some times that I'll listen to an hour or 2 of something that I don't even know what it is. So sometimes I'll write it down, but I'll listen to top 40. I listen to that. I listen to old bluegrass songs. I listen to blues. I just had Miles Davis on. I was listening to huge Joni Mitchell fan. So there's nothing that's really repulsive to me about any music. So I'm open to so much of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you just got 1 album out just this past couple months ago, right?
What, yeah, about a year ago.
About a year ago?
Yeah. Seems like yesterday, but in a way it doesn't. Yeah.
What are you working on right now? Is there anything in particular that you're focused on?
Well, I am writing some, although it's been difficult. Some people have used this pandemic to be really scrappy, and they've learned new skills, and I think all of us have learned some new skills, but they've come up with whole new albums worth of material, and that's not been the case for me. It's been difficult to find a lot of inspiration in the midst of kind of a difficult time. However, I am writing, and songs are coming. I've got probably 4 or 5 new songs that I would put on a next project, but I don't have that ready quite yet. So I'm also doing some circle singing and some work. I'm doing some vocal improv and getting some folks together to sing and improv as a way of learning about themselves, as a way of facing their fears, as a way of just trying something different. So that's kind of a new thing for me that I've always loved and never really done. So I'm hoping to facilitate some circle songs coming up.
That's different.
Yeah. I'll invite you to one.
Okay.
So you can see what that's like.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a program on it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yes. Would you have anybody who is, I guess, at any point in their life, in their career, or whatever, maybe just picked up during the pandemic, maybe just picked up the guitar or the piano during the pandemic? Would you have any advice for people who want to be a singer-songwriter professionally?
It's I would certainly recommend it. There's a sense of joy and pride of creating your own material and then putting that out into the world. The difficulty is the making a living of it. It's really hard work, and so much of it is about business versus music making. From promotions and knowing how to sell yourself on social media and all of those things are not my favorite. So you hire other people and you get to save money to do that, and then it's a real balancing act between business and music. But it is, at the thought of not doing it, I can't think of doing anything else. It's really fulfilling.
Well, that's excellent. Do you want to maybe close us out with a song here?
Sure. Let's see. I'll play my new song, actually.
Okay.
My most recent song. This one is another. I'm gonna have to use my tuner here.
Okay.
It's a completely different guitar tuning, which allows for kind of a different color. Let's do this. There we go. I'll take this off.
It's amazing the different devices they've come up with over the years to help with tuning.
Oh my gosh, yes. And in a crowded, room, to try and do it by ear is really different. Okay, this is a brand new song. This is the one I was telling you about. That was sort of a download for me, and this is about going back to my old house, and it's called My Old House. I can see my childhood pulling in the driveway of my old house. Roller skates and a ping pong table, Yahtzee family nights, laughing on the couch. Windows open, music's playing, Saturday feet were swaying on the patio. And all those soulful records stored inside that life-size stereo. So many years since I've been inside where we Thank you. Appreciate that.
Where did you? What prompted that?
I'm not sure. I wish I could give you. This was the one where I was just out walking the dog, and I started thinking about my past and going back to my old house, wondering what it would be like. And I started thinking about the old neighborhood and what I used to do and what was important to me. And my family had just taken a little, had been together, and I think I was thinking about memories that my family made growing up, and I had a great childhood. And so, and of course, this is about going back and learning about your neighborhood maybe developing over into a strip mall or something like that. So, that's sort of where that came from.
Well, that was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
This was awesome.